Hey, this is John Hink, and I'm going to talk to you really quickly about how to deploy NetBackup in the cloud. It's really pretty straightforward. You can go right to the marketplace for various cloud providers. This one in particular happens to be AWS. And you can go in here and basically you subscribe to the service offering. Once you do that, you essentially have to pick the deployment you want to do because we can do a master, a media server, a couple of different versions we can do. We also have, I think, a cloud recovery server, which you can use to attach to an existing MSDPC bucket and use that for just-in-time cloud recovery options. So once you've got all this configured, you picked what you want to do, you can go right into CloudFormation. The next thing you do is it gives you a little delay here, and then you can click on launch, and now you're into filling out the launch parameters. The launch parameters are going to be basically all the things that the instance needs to know in order to get itself running. And most of that is going to be networking. So when we go into here, the parameters are, first thing, I always forget, but don't forget, put in the stack name. I'll go through the whole thing and then have to put it back in later all the time. So you go in here and you can do a couple different things. You can pick whatever name you want. It's just for the stack deployment. And then you can do things like pick the instance size you want. You have a key pair that you should already have prepared that you want to use. And you go in to do that. So this scenario, I'm just going to join an existing VPC. So this virtual network will basically be set up so that it'll be there already. I'm going to join into it and I'm going to become part of that. The things you want to do in this case is, this is probably the part that people would have the most trouble with because it's just a little bit networking. Networking is always a little bit tricky, but you have a VPC. The VPC has a subnet. These are just network concepts. And then what you do is you want to, basically indicate, because you can have some different subnets, some different CIDR blocks in your subnet and VPCs, and so you pick the one you want to use. And so you go in and do that, and you go through these options. If your subnet VPC doesn't have a DHC option set, this is going to be a time to tell it to create one. This one in particular already has one because it's used with other NetBackup systems. And I'm going to, just in this case, make up a test domain that I want to use in this scenario. Now this other section, obviously, if I'm doing a new VPC, I'd have to fill this in, but I don't need to. So I'm going to skip that, and I'm going to go on to basically what would be the parts of the NetBackup setup. For that, it just asks me, I'm going to do a master here, like I said, and I'm going to give him another media server. So I'm going to put in the master server name I want to use. I'm going to put in the media server name I want to use. And these, will basically help be how it informs and creates those things. And then the last two things I got to do is throw in a license key. So I got a demo key I threw in there. And the smart meter file that is used for tracking your stats and statistics, and so you can know what your usage looks like and whatnot. And that works with Veritas NetInsights Console, which is basically a cloud-based service for monitoring your utilization. There's a lot of options you can do in here, and you can decide if you want to do rollback or not, if there's a problem. I like to shut it off just in case there's an issue because I can clean it up. I can check it out, look at it, and if it's a minor thing, I can get going. But if you don't, it just rolls back if there's some problem. Those things happen. That's why AWS has those options. So you go in here, and once you've done that, there's one thing you can look at is you can go to this quick create link. This is really good if you want to save this for later, or maybe make a version of it that you want to kind of reuse, rehash, or build some automation around. These are really nice because they're just basically creates a link that you can use to get to this point really quickly without having to put a lot of work into it. Helps you get jump started on things, stuff like that. Once you do that, you just kick it off, do the create stack. And now this takes a few minutes because it's got to build everything. It's got to create the file systems, the disks, the machines, the machine, and it does the actual NetBackup installation for you as well. So when you get all the way to the end of this, you can see it's done. So it comes out, it's great. And then, well, what do you do now? Well, all you need to do is just go into EC2. You do that by clicking up here in the upper left-hand side, and you pick on EC2 there, and you can go into, obviously you want to make sure you're in the right region, you're in the region that you deployed this into. You go into this region, for example, I got a few here, and you can see right there's the NetBackup instance I wanted to create. From here on out, all you need to do, there are security groups. This is by default. It will deploy so that you can have HTTPS access, inside of the VPC. You might have to change that for your access, but there you go. Now you got NetBackup. It's ready to run. It went right to the browser, and you can get started on doing things like backing up to MSDP and whatever else. Thank you. I'm John Hink, and I've been happy to talk to you about deploying in the cloud.